Hello and welcome to the June edition of Shropshire Business Live TV. We are here at Telford's International Centre where in a few hours time around 600 Shropshire business people will be descending on the venue for Shropshire Chamber's Annual Business Awards, the biggest event on the Shropshire business calendar. And I'm joined now by two of the people who have been instrumental in making all of this happen, Kelly and Rachel from the Chamber. Now, Kelly, big day today, but you started planning this like a year ago, didn't you?
I did a sit and it'll be the same as soon as this one's finished. The next day we start on the next one. It's all year round, but it's a fabulous event and we just put so much time and effort into it.
Rachel, what has to happen on the day itself then before everybody comes through the doors?
Well, hair and makeup clearly for the team, but aside that, the team, we come down to the International Centre, we just make sure all the rigging's done, all of that part, and then it's book of the night, the awards themselves, the certificates. We just don't stop.
So you've got a sneak preview of the programme there, haven't you, that everybody's going to get? Excellent. Yes. Which in itself is a work of art to put together, isn't it? You've got to make sure all the sponsors are covered and all the people that helped put this together are recognised, haven't you?
It is. It's probably one of the hardest jobs, to be honest, just to make sure that we are covering all sponsors, patrons, award details, and most importantly, your casino chips in the back of the booklet so everyone can have fun this evening.
Yes, the Fun Casino. Now, Rachel, on LinkedIn this month, you have celebrated quite publicly 14 years at Shropshire Chamber, so you've been to lots of these kind of events. What's so special about it?
It's just all the success of Shropshire and the businesses that keep coming forward and new, innovate, and it's just amazing. I'm just proud. This is my 13th business award and it doesn't get boring.
It's fabulous. Well, shall we go in and have a little look?
Let's do that. Oh.
So we've come behind the scenes here at Telford International Centre to the bit that the audience don't get to see, where all the storage of all the kit that's out there in the hall is kept. Toby from Yarrington, you don't travel light, do you?
No, we don't.
What we got here?
Especially for a show like this, we've got staging, we've got all the PA, we've got screens, projectors, everything we could need. Hazers, we've got smoke effects, lights, real flame pyro.
And it's all brought in? There's nothing that's actually sort of already in the venue?
No, it's all brought in for this one. Pretty much the only thing that's on the venue is the tables that you sit on to enjoy your meals.
So what time do you have to get here in the morning before the awards then? Or do you do it the night before or days before?
Well, I mean, days before would be ideal, but no, we are in at 10 o'clock in the morning. We rehearse at 4 and then we're ready to go live by 7. So it's all one day, all start to finish. And then
when everybody's gone home, you've got to strip it all down and get it out, haven't you?
Exactly, 1 o'clock. As soon as 1 o'clock comes, we're in D-rig mode. All back in these cases, back on lorries and home to bed by 4 or 5.
By Monday or something like that. So you know every single thing, every single case and what's supposed to go in every single one of these?
Yes, we do. Every single one. It's all barcoded, it's all labelled. We know exactly what's in. You could tell me to go and grab a single cable. I'll run straight to it and it'll be in before you know it.
Can you come and organise my office?
I need to organise my own home first.
Good to see you. I better leave you to get on with it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Carl.
I'm here now with Ruth Ross, Chief Executive of Shropshire Chamber, proving that no job is too big or too small on a day like this. So you're laying out all the programmes on the table. It's all hands to the deck, isn't it?
It is. I think we've got we're chasing down the people who are actually putting out the chairs at the moment. So we're putting the pressure on them to sort of speed it up a little bit. So.
It's always amazing, isn't it? You know, when you come into a hall, maybe an hour or two before an event, how much you think they'll never get all of this ready, and then it all just happens really quickly, doesn't it?
I think the first year I came and it was like, oh my giddy aunt. You look at it and you go, it's never going to be ready in time. But they do turn it around and then you walk in afterwards because, you know, you go back and get ready for the evening, put the dress on and everything. You come back in and go, wow, they have. And it is. It's like a couple of hours and it's completely transformed. So.
And that's what I love about this event, the fact that when people walk in the hall for the first time, They're blown away. They knew it was going to be big, but they didn't quite expect what they see, which is great, isn't it?
Yeah, it is those first timers, and I love it when on the run up to it say, have you ever been to before? And they say no, never, and you just know that as soon as they walk through they're going to go, oh, I didn't realise. So yeah, that's why we have to have it here as well, because there is so many people, so it's good event.
I'd better let you carry on with your work then, hadn't I? Now I'm here with some of the most important people in this entire hall. Everybody's looking towards the stage, but right at the back of the hall at the International Centre are the people who keep this entire event going. Introduce yourself, sir. Tell me a bit about what goes on here.
Sure, I'm Kelvin, so I'm the show caller. So my job's basically to keep everybody in line and tell everybody when a video's playing or when somebody's coming up to win an award. So we've got Paul down here who runs all the video side. Then we've got some Twitter feed things going on here. On the right, we've got camera boys that are doing all the vision mixing and records for later on and people can see. Followed by sound, who's the most important from our point of view. And finally, our lovely lighting guys at their end to make it look pretty.
Sound's not the most important when we're trying to record an interview, I'll tell you that much. But what sort of, I mean, you have to sort of cater for every eventuality, don't you? You have to think of every possible thing that could go, a bit left field, right field.
Exactly, yeah. So we have little backup things just in case something goes down technically or somebody doesn't turn up on time or something happens. So we have to think on our feet quite a lot, and whatever we plan is just a guideline of where we actually end up at the end of the night.
What's in your special black book?
This is all my secret notes of winners and times to push them on the stage and off the stage.
Put it in soft focus so nobody can read it. Excellent. Good to see you. Thanks a lot, Kelvin. Cheers. Now for something completely different. Not many days to go now, of course, until the general election, and what people really want to know in the business community is what do the main parties think about some of the issues that matter. Well, Shropshire Chamber of Commerce held a hustings event at the ACO Theatre in Oswestry a few days ago, which I was pleased to be able to host and chair for them. We had Daniel Kwafczynski for the Conservative Party, Ro Jacobi for Labour, Helen Morgan for the Liberal Democrats, Julian Dean from the Greens and Alan Adams from Reform UK. And they fielded some questions from the Chamber's own manifesto and also from the audience. Here's a little snippet of the debate where they're talking about issues around skills, training and apprenticeships. Well, the first topic that I want to look at tonight is the one that was by far and away the most popular in all of the different sources we've used tonight, and that's around skills. The Chamber's quarterly economic survey continues to show, and has shown now for over a year, that companies are struggling to recruit staff with the skills that they need. It's been the number one priority. So the question I want to pose to the panel really is, what's the answer? I'm going to start, Helen, I'll start with you because you mentioned skills specifically, didn't you?
Thank you very much. I don't think there is a single answer to the skills problem that we face in Shropshire, but we do know that we have a shortage of younger people staying in the county and working here. So I think there are a number of different issues we can use to address that. So one is just making sure that young people stay in the area. And to do that, we need to address some of the infrastructure challenges that are apparent. So whether that's housing, public transport, I think is quite important in terms of moving people around between different towns so that people can access a job that matches their skill set. Digital connectivity is obviously a key issue that's come up time and time again, and it's an issue that causes people to move away from the area. One of the top things people do when they look on Rightmove for a house is check the broadband speed, and if it's rubbish, it's difficult to attract people to come and stay in the area. So there's a lot of different infrastructure elements that we could do to retain our young people, but we also need to address this problem of skills, and in order to do that, we need to work closely between businesses and educational establishments. And one of the things I was doing before Parliament was dissolved was trying to connect some businesses in Oswestry with North Shropshire College to look at how we make sure that the colleges are delivering the skills people need. But we also need to make sure that people are retraining throughout their lives, so where their skills start to become obsolete. So, for example, if you're a gas fitter, are you retraining to be able to fit air source heat pumps and new types of technology? We need to be able to access and ensure that we're accessing retraining for people throughout their lives, which has always been a key Lib Dem policy, so that we are making sure that the skills gaps are met.
Thank you, Helen. Daniel, let me just pass over to you. One of the things that comes out of this as well is there's a difference between academic skills and soft skills that are needed as well, isn't there, among the workforce? Soft skills are such an important and sometimes maybe overlooked area.
What it all boils down to, every politician has their own priorities. My main priority and my passion is something that nobody ever talks to me about on the doorstep, and that's balancing the books. And you have to balance the books as businesses, and sometimes you have to make very difficult decisions to balance the books. You also have to do that in your own households. And yet we are now 2.7 or 2.8 trillion pounds in debt. Debt interest payments this year are over 100 billion pounds. That's twice as much as we spend on our armed forces. And when we came into office in 2010, we were handed a note by the Labour Party. Good luck, there's no money left. We were borrowing 183 billion pounds a year in 2010 when we came into office. And every single year for the first 9 years, we reduced the annual deficit so that in 2019, this country was running a balanced budget. Can you imagine running a balanced budget? The United Kingdom paying for herself for the first time since Margaret Thatcher. And that is so important because we've seen what's happened to other European countries, like Greece, like Italy, like Portugal, like others, who have racked up massive deficits and then struggle to actually pay them and to be competitive. So whether it's skills or anything else, the United Kingdom needs to run a balanced budget. Unfortunately, the situation is very difficult at the moment because during the pandemic, and when I came back to my constituency, everybody was out, quite rightly, for that part of the furlough. We had to borrow £450 billion. That has blown a massive black hole in the state of public finances. And what really worries me is the Labour government with a large majority that will pander to the trade unions, increase taxation, increase workers' rights, and blunt Britain's competitive edge. And let's not forget, we have just become the world's 4th largest exporter. How a tiny island of our size has managed to become the world's 4th largest exporter, you could write a dissertation on that. These are tremendous achievements.
Okay, Daniel, let's get back to the original question, which is about skills and how we actually help companies who are struggling to recruit staff with the skills that they need. Ro, I know you want to come in here.
A bit of an opportunity to answer to some of what Daniel just said.
Make sure keep the mic close.
You'd need to be quite faceless to claim that we've had a decade of stability and growth in this country. I have been to some of the most dangerous places on earth. Stability, political stability, is the cornerstone of economic growth. That's what we've not had from you. When Daniel says he stands for British businesses, you'd need to ask him, do you stand for British businesses in Shropshire or Saudi businesses? You're about standing up for Saudis, while we're here talking about businesses and their future in Shropshire. Who gave us Liz Truss? You did. Who gave us COVID parties? You did. Who gave us unprecedented cost of living crisis? You did. Who gave us 10% inflation per year? You did.
Let's get back to the skills question, though.
You're in no position to lecture us, the Labour Party, on economic prudence and economic credibility. You've made the country a pariah. We want to change that. Britain needs change, and Britain needs a Labour government to bring stability, credibility, and competence.
Julian, do you want to tackle the skills question for us?
Yes, I want to.
I'm going to give Julian a word. We'll come back to you later.
Yes, I mean, frankly, it's insulting to those who are asking questions tonight if the two main parties are simply going to say what they were going to say anyway. So let's go back to skills. So I mean, the first thing to say is that this country has the lowest levels of training and retraining of any industrialised country. So whatever record Daniel wants to claim, that's the record when it comes to training. At the same time, we know that the nature of work is constantly changing. and that therefore the idea that you can be trained for a job for life is simply no longer the case. So therefore, we need to focus on what are transferable skills. And I think it's a real shame that the Gove reforms to education effectively took a pot shot at vocational training. And as a vocational teacher, I taught in music, but I very quickly moved towards teaching effectively events management in Telford College. And that was a fantastic course because it was both interesting for the students because they were committed to the world of popular music, but it was also delivering transferable skills in logistics, in finance, in project management, in all those sorts of things. And I know that many of them, and in fact this is the case with most students, will have gone into a different sector. Most students who cover a vocational course or train in whatever subject they train in very quickly shift to a different sector. So we have to take that really seriously, and therefore we have to really build a foundation of, yes, soft skills, and that means not turning schools into exam factories, but turning them into places where people can engage with each other, talk to each other, communicate, work in teams. That's the sort of education that builds those soft skills. And then at the same time, take vocational education seriously, but recognise that the very specific skills for the specific jobs of today may well not be the skills we need in 5 or 10 years' time. And therefore take seriously that there are some real transferable skills out there which can be taken seriously in education. And finally, that all of that means breaking down the false divide between brain and brawn, if you like, between academic education and vocational education. Both are massively valuable to the individuals and valuable to society as a whole.
Thank you very much. Alan?
Yeah, so obviously skills is really important for businesses. They're all struggling. We need to do a bit of a PR job on apprenticeships. I think they're a fantastic route for young adults to take. There seems to be a push for universities, and they're going into sort of really low quality degrees. So yeah, the push on the construction, IT, engineering, make it more of a focus within the schools. And as for the soft skills, it's giving kids the understanding and how they come across. I was talking to a manager the other day, and he spent all afternoon interviewing. He said, and it was for a 6 till 2 shift, and one girl came in flip-flops and just a T-shirt, and he said, why? But it's those sorts of things that we need to help the kids with, so that they can understand how they come across in workplace and make them employable in the first place.
You mentioned apprenticeships there, actually, Alan, because it's been reported, I noticed this week, that the number of people taking apprenticeships in our area, Shropshire and Telford and Wrekin, is down nearly 40% in the last 18 months. I read one survey. How do we reverse that?
Again, it's just, I suppose, making them aware. I mean, the Royal Navy, I went through an apprenticeship, and it really does give you the skills to sort of push yourself forward. And it's that confidence it gives you. It teaches you stuff. The mentorship, the youngsters don't seem to have mentors these days, and that's what apprenticeships did for me anyway. Anybody else want a word on apprenticeship specifically? So, go on, Daniel.
I mean, the reason I talk about, specifically about the reason I answer the skills question about talking about the deficit and about making sure you run a balanced budget is because all of this costs money. And whether it's investing in new teachers, whether it's investing in new universities or technical colleges or all the rest of it, takes a huge amount of money. I've just spent the afternoon in the square talking to parents with teachers with special educational needs and hearing about the hardship that they face every day as a result of a lack of investment in helping them. All of this takes huge amount of money. Yes, we are the world's 5th largest economy, but we have been through some horrendously difficult economic destabilizing situations, particularly the pandemic where we had to borrow £450 billion. And that's why having low taxation, low corporation tax, low personal income tax is so important to make us globally competitive and make sure we continue to be the world's 4th largest exporter. That's why I'm very pleased Mr. Sunak has reduced taxation and is lowering inflation. And we've got to keep on the pro-business agenda in order to keep that competitive edge, something which I simply can't believe would happen under a Labour government. And let's not forget one point. No Labour government, not one, has reduced unemployment. Perhaps one or two may have faced a particularly difficult situation. But in the history of this country, not a single Labour government has left office with unemployment lower than when it came into office.
Well, let me give Ro an opportunity to come back on that one then, Daniel, and also tackle the issue. Do you feel that, how do we halt the trend that means fewer people are taking up apprenticeships, and if you do want to respond?
It's a bit rich, having been in power for 14 years, having been propped up Boris Johnson, having been propped up Liz Truss. Yeah, the issue is Liz Truss. The issue is 14 years of failure.
Actually, the question was apprenticeships, but there we go.
The issue is that, because, look, the issue is you. The issue is your party. The issue is your lack of respect for people. Let me tell you what we're going to do. The reason that the leader has, and your leader lied yesterday, if you remember.
That's outrageous.
That's not outrageous, that's the truth.
If somebody accused somebody of lying in the House of Commons, the Speaker would have ruled that out.
Yeah, if you could stop shouting at me. If you could... No.
Listen, let's stick to the questions, folks, here. We've got...
Let me...
We've got a lot to get through tonight, so let's stick to the agendas.
You know that. I've lived in some of the worst places on earth where... And you worked for Saudi Arabia. And that is quite autocratic. Yes, of course you have. But it is an affront. You know, I value democracy. People died. We had in D-Day. People died to give us the democracy we have today. Now, to sit here in front of the very people and lie to their faces is an affront to decency and democracy. We deserve better than that. We deserve better than the 14 years of failure.
Okay,
I'm going to the apprenticeship. I met a teenager yesterday in Sheffield. She came up to me because I was wearing my rosette and looked at me and said, "Are you the Labour person?" I said, "Yes." "Go and sort out our school." "What's wrong with your school?" She said, "Our school is in special measures. It has been for a long time, but we don't have any teachers." Imagine, that's the story of not just one school, that's the story of tens of schools, hundreds of schools. Hospitals, you've left hospitals in ruins. You've left our public services in ruins. Of course, these are not coming for free, but you've bankrupted the economy. 40 plus days of Liz Truss, 46 billions of pounds.
Okay, we've gone over that one already. Let me give Julian an opportunity. Just tell me about the apprenticeships question specifically. How do we halt it?
I just wanted to mention one thing about apprenticeships, which is I'm really, really concerned that we are losing, in particular, the opportunity for people to train on apprenticeships in social work and in nursing, and also some teacher training because of the withdrawal of Chester University from Shropshire. I think that's a real loss to the county. It's a loss to the town of Shrewsbury, and you know, I think it's a testimony to the failure of the government to invest adequately in higher education and in training. And I think that's, you know, we are desperate for those skilled workers. So it is about money. Absolutely, it is about money. The truth is, the money is there. We are the 5th wealthiest country in the world, and there are millionaires and billionaires who, frankly, are not paying enough in tax, and there are international companies like Amazon that are not paying enough in tax, and that money is available for us. But both of the major parties are simply refusing to tackle the issue that we can actually raise the extra money to tackle the infrastructure issues that we have, the education system that we have, and to bring about the transition we need to bring about if we're going to have a future.
Helen?
Thanks. I just wanted to address specifically the question about apprenticeships, because the businesses here will all be paying the apprenticeship levy, and they will be expecting to get some value for money from that levy. And it doesn't work very well at the moment. It's very inflexible. And if you're on the border here between Wales and England, where there are different rules in how you can spend that levy between the two countries, then it's even more bureaucratic and nightmarish for the companies involved. So I think we need to have a look at the apprenticeship levy, make it simple, make it more flexible, and also increase the employment allowance so that small businesses aren't paying national insurance on people who are at that lower end of employment, so they can increase their workforces. But it's very important to emphasise that unemployment isn't our problem here in Oswestry. We've got very, very low levels of unemployment. Our problem is enough people to fill the jobs and get the businesses growing. And we can't deal with any of these problems of a stagnant economy and underinvestment in public services unless we have economic growth. So it's really, really important to listen to business, work out what it is they need to get the people in their businesses to do the jobs, and make sure that we can ensure that those businesses thrive in the future.
Three individual sensors, optical, heat, and carbon monoxide, combined in one alarm for the ultimate fire and CO response. Introducing the EI3030, the next evolution in home life safety. Maximising coverage, whilst making installation simpler, easier and future-proof with the Easy Fit base. The EI3030 multi-sensor fire and carbon monoxide alarm is available to order now. Safety first. Eco first.
Welcome back to Shropshire Business Live TV. We're here at Telford's International Centre, home of the Shropshire Chamber Business Awards. So you've seen a little bit behind the scenes, all about the setup of the event. Let's meet some of the winners.
Please give a huge welcome to the winner of this year's John Clayton Award, the dyslexia consultant, Elizabeth Wilkinson.
I didn't know I was up for it, so a massive deal. I'm probably as speechless as I was when I got notified about the MBE. It's just, yeah, really nice. Sorry.
Yeah, you can see you're really emotional about it. Yes, just kind of moving up to you.
I just do what I do, and I don't really expect anybody to notice. I just do stuff.
The Best Small Business 2024 is Crispian Office Supplies.
Family business, so our mum and dad started it in '74. Our dad's cousin was involved from the start as well, so really a lot of it goes down to them, having the right foundations, and then we've just had the easy bit carrying it on really. So.
And the winner of the Best New Business Award 2024 is Lilac Shop.
I'm really glad to start a new business, and especially opening a physical store this year in Shrewsbury. I'm really glad to put a new independent shop on the high street.
But the winner of the award for Excellence in Manufacturing and Engineering 2024, Bridge Cheese.
Fantastic, and what we would say, we set up in Telford and the whole Shropshire area. We didn't know any business in the whole area.
No.
And from the day we contacted the inward investment team in Telford, right through to the contacts in Shropshire for the business community, it's a fantastic business community. Neither Martin or myself are from the area, but what we have found in Shropshire, and particularly in Telford, is one hell of an amazing business community.
And I'm delighted to announce the winner is Stallion AI Services Limited.
Yeah, born and bred in Shropshire and wouldn't live anywhere else, to be honest. And I'm really privileged to be part of this team. And we have been winners of the Innovation Award when I first started my career with Stallion AI Services, actually. and it's brilliant to be back again and actually to be at the stage where all those innovations we had originally, they're in full fruition, and we now have new innovations that we brought to the table. So it's just really, really special, and I'm very pleased and proud of the team that I work with.
The winner is the Hadley Park House Hotel.
I'm pretty speechless, to be honest with you. It's fantastic, fantastic. I think we were the only hotel in the category to be represented, so it's fantastic to win this. It's a good representation of the team as well. This is all about the team, not just the guys that are here tonight, so fantastic, very proud.
Well, it's time now for our Ask the Expert slot, an opportunity to talk wealth management with Nick Jones from Throgmorton Associates. But we're doing a lot more than that this month. And he invited us, in fact, the Shrewsbury Town Football Club invited us into their inner sanctum. And I spoke to Nick inside the first team dressing room at Shrewsbury Town. And as you'll see, that's because Nick has got quite a lot of connections to the club. Well, welcome to the first team changing rooms at Shrewsbury Town Football Club. It's not every week, is it, Nick? You get an opportunity to do this?
Not every week, no, not very often.
We should put it to rest straight away that we're not the new signings for the new season. It's not come to that. But Nick, you've got your different various hats that you wear. Shrewsbury Town Football Club is an important part of your life, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So as a fan, man and boy, an old man and boy, we very much still come on match days and enjoy the Sovereign Lounge, and the guy's going to talk to you about these opportunities to come and join us. But also being a trustee of the foundation for a long time now. So I think it's ninth year now coming up. So it's and that side of things, aligned with the football club, it's fantastic. It's massive, and it's much more than just 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon.
I had the pleasure of hosting the foundation's dinner the last 2 or 3 years. But for people that don't know specifically what the foundation is for, just explain it.
Well, it's the club's side of it. It's a charity aligned to the club. But it's separated. We've got separate trustees. We've got a chairman of trustees. We've got our own mission and goals. And we really try to bring health and enjoyment to the local community at whatever stage people are at. So if they're 3 years old to 93 years old, there's normally a programme that they can get involved with. And the amount of things that go on up and down the county, really, any time of day or night, generally, there's something to get involved with. So have a look at the website, and hopefully that'll be shared. But it is an amazing project, and they say you come and host very well the gala dinners every year, and some of the stories and the impact that they actually have on local people like you and me, it's amazing.
That's what makes it worthwhile, isn't it?
Yeah.
But talking about activity and exercise, this time last month on the show, Chris went and joined you at the top of Lith Hill, where you were training for a pretty impressive expedition. You're still in one piece, you're still smiling.
Yeah.
How did it go?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. So there were 37 of us on the one coach. We were doing the 3 peaks. We drove on the Friday up to Fort William and then had a briefing that told us if we were too slow, we would be pulled off the mountain the next morning. So it was
just when you don't need any more pressure.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's when it all came home. We were against the clock a little, but also it's about getting up and doing it safely, raising good money. Ben Nevis first. Yeah. So Ben Nevis was 6 a.m. on Saturday morning, up and down, about 5 hours, 5 and a bit hours. Back on the bus, a 6-hour journey to Scarfell to then do that. Because we were on such a big bus, we couldn't get to the bottom of where we were supposed to start, Wasdale Head. We had to decamp onto minibuses, and that took a little while. And then minibuses skirting around single track lanes to get to the bottom. So that took ages. And then up and down Scarfell, which was horrendous. We started in the daylight, finished in a beautiful sunset at the top, and then came down with head torches because it had gone dark by the time we were coming down. And that was absolutely amazing, horrendous but amazing. And then onto the last one, to Snowdon, pig track up, and then Clanberry's path down, and about 27 hours altogether. Most of it travelling, and 14 hours a bit walking, but it was serious, passionate. Nick, that you met previously on the show, with motor neuron disease, he actually did the challenge himself. He was one of the faster walkers. The way it's affected him at the moment is speaking and his actual swallowing mechanism isn't great. So he's already got a peg fitted for the time when he can't actually swallow, which is heartbreaking. But to do the challenge, he was amazing. And most of the time I met him on the mountain, he was coming down after summiting, and I was still on the way up. We had a manly hug, and then I went one way and he went down the other.
But you've raised tens of thousands.
Yeah, it's over £48,000 now, collectively between the 37 of us, which is amazing. And on our page, we're up over 8,500, which is great, included within that figure. So it's been amazing. Nick's on about 50,000. He's got this 50,000 in, so the page is still open, and there are still people raising more, doing other things to raise. But it's been heightened again with Rob Burrows sadly passing the weekend after we finished our challenge, and Nick's been up to heading in with the Leeds Stadium and seeing the tributes there, and I think that was his motivation anyway, to want to make a difference. But
made it all the more poignant, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Fabulous effort by everybody concerned. Yeah. Now we normally talk finance or wealth-related matters at this slot of the show. This time next week, as the show is going out, everybody will be casting their votes for the general election.
There's a lot going on at the moment, isn't there?
There's a heck of a lot going on. What do people need? Are people asking you things in the run up to the election? Do they say, what do we need to? Do we need to shelter our money? Do we need to move our money? If there's a change of government,
there's always speculation. It's like when you've got a budget and then people say, oh, this might change, that might change. This is like a budget but on steroids, because there's so many things, and actually a change of administration, which looks likely. If you're a betting man and you follow the odds, then it looks like there's going to be a change. There are some late runners to the race, but it's all up in the air. Now the manifestos have been released, but the manifestos themselves don't have a massive amount of detail in. There's a lot of holes in the manifesto. So if you want to think they might do this, they might do that, they still might. That's the uncertainty.
The difficulty is, isn't it? They'll make a pledge. Each party will make a pledge.
Yeah.
And then it's what the various implications of that pledge are going to be, which aren't spelled out in a manifesto, are they? Where they're going to grant particular finances or funding for, and what the priorities be.
It's all going to be paid for. Yeah, and currently they want things that are popular amongst the voters, but is that going to be popular afterwards when they're actually trying to implement these things?
At election times like this in general, does it make people a little bit more cautious, or make them sit down and evaluate where they're at with their estates and things?
I don't know if it's politicians in general, or just the way that things have been with the world since COVID and all of the uncertainty generally out there with wars, and there's some horrendous things going on now all the time, aren't there? People generally now are tending to be a little bit either short-termist, and they think more about what's happening short-term. Am I okay now? And then, well, we worry about that down the line. Generationally, there's a difference in opinion, in mindset. Some people now live for today, don't know what's going to come down the line, whereas a lot of the older generation have already down the line and actually thinking, you know what, we're going to be okay, or we're not going to be okay, and then they're worried about things like the NHS, or they're worried about care costs, or they're worried about other things that impact them. But we've got a lot of clients who are squeezed in the middle, so they're paying for children either education, or they're paying for elderly parents in care, but the demands on their time and the demands on their expertise at work is probably more than ever. So they're trying to retire, maybe phasing into retirement. Many people do the cliff edge anymore, so they're making sure they've got enough for themselves. How long do we need to work? How much do we need in the pot when we can actually not work and have a choice to earn new money or not? And then, are our kids okay? Are our grandkids okay? And is the legacy going to be intact because of inheritance tax or care fees? So there's a lot of big questions, and none of the parties have committed to anything really just yet. So go with your heart and your head, but make sure you use your vote.
Yeah, absolutely. And as they always say after the budget as well, the devil's in the detail. It's exactly the same as at election time, isn't it?
Always, yeah. And whether there's a change of administration and then there's an emergency budget to make some big changes quickly, or maybe no changes coming through until the next natural budget, which will probably be the autumn statement. So September, October time. So who knows? But make sure you use your vote and don't stress too much.
Easier said than done, Nick. Now, one of the things we do on Shropshire Business Live TV, invite you to send any questions or issues you might have that we can raise with Nick. And we've got a really good one here that's coming from this month from a gentleman called Brian Taylor from Newport. Brian says, as we get older, my partner and I are less inclined to want to risk our money for the sake of a slightly better return. What would you suggest as the safest places for our savings? Are there any particular investments you'd advise us to avoid on that basis?
It's a great question. A lot of people like as much return as possible for as little risk as possible, and that's kind of that's natural, that's okay. And we talk very much about your pension funds and about your investment ISAs and stocks and shares and this sort of thing. But if you fundamentally don't want to take risk, there are some great accounts out there currently. You know, we've been in recent years. Really, there's been no choice about bank accounts you could have and get a decent rate of interest. Inflation's been raging, so you've actually, any bank account's been losing money against inflation. But now we sit back and inflation seems to be coming down a little, depending on which measure you read and which politician's saying it. But actually, it's going to be one of those things where a bank account's going to be safe. If you've got up to £85,000 in any of the bank accounts that are UK regulated, then you're okay. Husband and wife have 85,000 cover each, which is great. So if the bank fell over, you've got 85,000 cover. The danger with something in a bank account is that it might be growing at less than inflation. And most UK bank accounts, current accounts, will be 0.5%, maybe 1% if you're lucky on your current account. You can shop around, you can get 4% on current accounts. And I had a little look before because I saw the question, which you kindly shared. There are current accounts you can get 4% on, which is great. But then you've got national savings and investments. So on the NS&I website, which is just nsandi.com, you've got premium bonds, which are backed by the government. Everything on NS&I is backed by the government. You've got premium bonds where you're paying in a certain amount of money. There's a notional interest rate of 4.4% because there's a draw, and you can
early, isn't it?
Early, that's exactly it. Yeah. So there's still the big prize that you might get, and if you don't, then it's supposed to average out to about 4.4%. Then you've got other things. In the one we talk about budgets. In the one budget, they announced the British saving bonds, and they're now available. So they're on NS&I, and there's an income version or a growth version. And they're again backed by the UK government, and they're over 4% for both. You've got a 1-year version or a 3-year version, and funnily enough, the 3-year version it's a lower interest rate than the 1-year version, which kind of leads you to think that interest rates on these kind of things will be coming down.
Will be coming down for a few months.
Yeah, so if you're happy to get almost 4%, then book it in for 3 years. You then got no access to your money unless sadly something happens to you, but it's there, it's locked away, but you're guaranteed the return from the government. So there are options.
I mean, I'm suspecting, I don't know, but suspecting from Brian's question, they may be towards the end of their working career rather than earlier on, and that they've maybe had some money invested in markets or in stocks and share related things where it can fluctuate, and they're thinking, do we take some of that out and go for something?
It could be, and this is where personal advice comes in, because we try and assume the age that they may be and whereabouts on the glide path to retirement, or if they're already retired, as what does that look like? But also, are they actually, do they have other assets that are invested? So is this just a portion? This is where good advice comes in. So we would always say have a portion which isn't at any risk. Banks say about inflation, but if you've got cash availability, then you can get it for a rainy day. You need to do something with the car or the boiler or something around the house. You don't need to cash in an investment. You've actually got the cash, which is great. Then that's a good way to structure things, but have some which is working a bit harder. But if they're talking about not being happy with taking any risk, that's fine. It's a personal thing, but they will potentially lose out against inflation. So they need to take a little bit of risk with some of it, maybe, as long as it doesn't keep them awake at night. Because that would be absolutely the wrong thing to do. Have a fantastic portfolio that works for me, but then they're too worried. And then, if you're not sleeping, it's the wrong thing.
Well, it's not working for you, is it?
Absolutely.
You've got to enjoy your life and everything.
It's all about balance.
You said right at the start, not going on in the world at the moment. The one thing you don't want to do is add a bit of extra stress on if you can avoid it.
Yeah,
really, so.
and avoiding stress is you talk about things not to invest in. So you've got unregulated investments at the moment. There's still lots of scams about. However authorised and regulated the good guys are, then there's still a lot of things out there that you can be persuaded into. It looks too good to be true. It probably is, but it could be. I did a little bit of research. It could still be Bitcoin. Maybe is unregulated. It could be burial plots. It could be car park spaces. It could be fine wines. All of these things might come with a promise of a high percentage of return. Massive risk that you might not even get your money back.
You get a plot on the moon, can't you, as well? On Mars?
I'm sure you could. I'm sure we can find someone that will sell you one.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. No, presumably, if anybody does want to sort of talk through any things like this, that you're on the end of the phone to help them, aren't you?
Yeah, just give us a shout. Yeah, contact us through the show or follow the social media or just ring the office. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'll leave you to go and get your kit on ready for training, then, shall I?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I need a bit of pre-season to get ready. Let's say.
Not as much as I'd need. Let's put it that way. Great to see you, Nick.
Yeah,
thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm here to talk to you today about the Higher National Diploma Healthcare Professions Support. Higher National Diploma has been awarded HTQ status and has been designed against occupational standards within the NHS amongst other employers, meaning by completing the H&D you already have the requirements to enter the job of your dreams. The courses are aimed at adult learners aged 18 plus who have recently left education, completing qualifications in the healthcare field, or professionals working in the healthcare sector who are looking to upskill or change roles within their career. So a HTQ is an alternative progression route into higher education. The course costs are significantly reduced in comparison to full-time university fees, and the studying takes place locally on site at Telford College in our state-of-the-art healthcare academy. Students will be given a placement mentor who can support them with their role both in the hospitals or during placement and on site here at Telford College, with personalised learning plans tailored specifically for students' needs. There are also a range of careers available, such as occupational therapy assistant practitioners, operating department assistant practitioners, maternity care assistants, community care assistants, and prehabilitation and rehabilitation.
I love Telford College because it's very accessible to myself, and I also like the inclusive learning. So like for example, the hospital ward, because it helps everyone else like myself also understand what it will be like when you actually go out on placements. The teachers are very, very helpful. If you don't understand, they will re-go through it again. They will give you extra support.
We're in our virtual and augmented reality suite. We have software which is linked to all our curriculum areas, boasting some of the latest innovation, especially around the healthcare setting, where we worked with the NHS to develop some clinical scenarios. Our students can access all this technology in different ways. So through our immersive headsets, they can be immersed into these scenarios where they can get a real feel of what they're trying to learn. Caves where you can be immersed with multiple people in that scenario so it feels like you're actually there, through to a bit more augmented technology where it will help you guide you through different scenarios with teacher-led learning.
We have lots of different clubs and activities, things like driving theory, sign language clubs. There are also sports you can take part in, so recreational or competitive. And on-site facilities, we have a gym that students can use free of charge, 2 catering outlets that students can access, and of course Starbucks, which is discounted from high street prices.
Applying couldn't be easier. You can just go on our website, open an account and follow the simple steps. If you have any queries about any courses along the way, you can contact a member of our student services team, or alternatively you can visit one of our many open evenings and open events and you can chat to members of the staff.
So here we are, back in the home dressing room at Shrewsbury Town Football Club's Crowd Meadow with the two Andys. Rather than me trying to introduce yourselves, just tell us a bit about you and your role.
So I'm Andy Tretton, I'm a commercial manager at Shrewsbury Town. Been in the commercial department since 2008. Been commercial manager since 2016, I think it was. So it's basically, as the title suggests, it's all commercial activity at the football club, trying to generate revenue for the football club, and primarily to assist the manager in getting the players onto the pitch.
So at the time when everybody else goes off on their summer holidays, puts their feet up and goes on the beach, I gather this is presumably one of your busiest times of the year.
It is a busy time for us, yeah. Sometimes there's a perception that we all go home, but that certainly isn't the case, particularly for the backroom staff here. It's nice to get the weekends back for a bit, but yeah, as you mentioned, it is a busy time for us, either renewing commercial deals or trying to get new ones in place for the season coming up, because it certainly comes around quick. The fixtures are out on Wednesday the 26th, so it doesn't seem 2 minutes since the season finished, and then the next 10 months will be dictated to us once again. But it's always an exciting time, fixture day. And then we can really start planning for the new season.
And how about the other Andy? You're a little bit more of a newbie in this role, aren't you?
I am, actually. So yeah, I was recently appointed as business development manager, so predominantly to sort of assist Andy in the fantastic work he's done over the years. but to sort of try and give a new, different angle to the club, forging relationships with local businesses, new businesses, and engaging as much as possible within the community borders and UK really, in order to find them forging connections to bring them amongst the club and really get some brand alignment and exposure to businesses and try and change the dynamics really a little bit of just how we can really adapt the future with the club and really get fans and businesses sort of involved within the club and just give it some structure moving forward really.
And as fans will know very well, I mean, obviously you've got other links to Shrewsbury Town Football Club, having represented them both on the pitch as well. Does that bring an extra element of experience? Are you able to look at what you do from maybe different directions because of that?
I think so. I mean, obviously we've had many experiences in the professional game. I was very fortunate to have played a lot of clubs in this country, but in around the world and experience all that, and it does help to understand football, to understand the game, to understand the connection. I think so. From when I've retired, I sort of even though we sort of still involved in the game in certain coaching aspects, predominantly I went into sales and experienced many different sort of factors along the way and experienced many sort of business attributes across that way of learning. And I think just moulding the two has really sort of helped me, especially in this position that I'm in now. And obviously Andy's done it for many a year within the club, so obviously his experience is going to help me just to adjust back to the football life, should we say. So talk about weekends. I haven't had my weekends taken up for a very long time since I retired, but going back in, getting involved back into a club, and a club that's very fond, that in close to my heart, is I'm really looking forward to the challenges ahead.
Did you both? I'm going to ask you. I keep saying I'll ask you, Andy. I'll ask the Andy names to me. Did you always want to stay in football in some way or other then after you finished playing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Andy mentioned there playing there around the world. I didn't quite manage that. I went to Accrington for a couple of years. That was about the furthest.
You went across the border into Wales, didn't you?
Yeah, Hereford I did.
That is like another part of the world, though.
And I sort of retired early, so it was quicker than I thought. So I was potentially looking. The usual one is looking coaching, but he was taken away from me quite quickly. So thankfully, I had a role appeared at the football club in the commercial side of things, and things just developed from there really. So I was fortunate that the club gave me a chance, and the club's been a big part of both our lives. Certainly mine. The family's born here, been lived here. Much to my mum's disgust, I've been in Shropshire more than half my life now.
You're
from Derby, yeah. So I'm an adopted Sbltv, I think is the terminology. So we know what the football club means to the community.
What was your journey into the business side then? Did you have a plan when you retired?
I think I always had a plan. It sort of got cut short. I think you make your own sort of way in life and stuff. It didn't quite work out, but I think you just got to move on quite quickly. I think you do, no matter what anyone says, you go through quite difficult times. Like I did when you finish, you do find dark days, but it's just finding a way back in and amongst it, and sometimes getting away from that football sort of reality of life and doing something different actually helped me in the end. So it's, again, through many experiences from my own businesses, again, you just learn throughout the years. You just find, as I said, you find your own way. And you learn all these little things, from working for yourself or working for other people, and all these little bits that you learn along the way has obviously put me in good stead, and very fortunate, as I said, to be in the position I'm sort of in now to help the club.
So when you were players, you'd have had involvements with sponsors, you'd have duties, wouldn't you, where you'd have to go and talk or meet and greet or what have you, but the kind of sponsorship involvement maybe that was in football 15, 20 years ago is nothing compared to what it is now. How many different ways are there for local businesses to connect and engage?
Yeah, I think it's certainly developed, hasn't it? I mean, Andy will probably testify. We can remember sponsors coming in primarily before match, so it would be the match sponsors coming around the dressing rooms, getting merchandise signed. But it certainly wasn't to the extent that businesses can get their exposure now.
Name on the stadium.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, weren't we? Yeah, we've got the stadium, the stands, the shirts. Obviously, the front of the shirt has been around for a while now, but we've got sponsors on the back of the shirt, on the sleeves, on the shorts. You know, we turn it into like an F1 uniform if we could, but that's just the EFL restrictions. But yeah, there's so many more ways that we can offer exposure to companies. The social media is a huge side of things now, and our media team put out some really great content, and our followers, I think, across all the platforms, Facebook, WhatsApp, TikTok, which I'm not familiar with.
I've heard of it.
I'll leave that one out of it, but we've got some really good followers on that. I think we're well over 400,000, I think, in terms of followers.
So from a sponsor's point of view, all of those things are really appealing.
Yeah, absolutely.
What tends to go first? What's the most popular? If you put all the sponsorship opportunities on the table tomorrow and they were all blank, what would be the one that people would want?
I think the kit is usually a popular one, because I think people like to see their business, their brand on the front of strips, or the Shrewsbury Town kit, particularly if we've got a big game and we've got a lot of Sky games lined up this season. Games live on Sky this season with the new Sky deal. We've got over 20 home games going to be televised live on Sky, so that's going to increase everyone's exposure, particularly the kit, the stadium, the pitch side advertising, things like that. So yeah, going back to your earlier question, it's a totally different to ball game to particularly when I was playing. Maybe not. You're a bit younger than me, aren't you?
So it's part of your job, Andy, to actually get out and about in the local business community, network, talk to people, explain what some of the partnership opportunities are.
Exactly. So I'm predominantly I want to get out amongst the community and within business, and just whether they're more than welcome to come here and have a chat, or I'll go out to businesses. I like to learn about the business, who they are, what they do, and actually have a sit down and just an informal chat about how their brand can actually be sort of driven forward and drive their growth through a platform that's already here. I think Andy touched there. There's some obviously not the TV sort of coverage this year, but we've also got some there's some big games. Although some big Derby, for example, have got promoted, but we've still got this year a huge game against Wrexham that's going to have global sort of exposure. We've got the Birmingham City games that's going to be huge. You've still got big clubs that still come here, like your Charltons, etc. So there's a massive diversity of fan exposure and business exposure within there, but it's going out to businesses and sitting down and actually understanding it, and do as much research about the business and understand what they want and what they do, and how we can customise, and align with exactly what they want to do, instead of this is who we are, this is what we've got. How can we customise that to fit into you as a business, and how can we bring it into the football club?
Do people realise you can do that, or do they think they've got to buy something off the shelf then?
Well, this is what we're trying to sort of just, as I said, we're talking about the dynamics. We want to change the dynamics slightly, and just, as I said, the engagement side for me, I mean, I've done it for years and years and years of just going out to meet people, and just, building relationships. People buy off people. It's just a fact of life. And if we can forge that relationship as a club and really get that engagement and that understanding, and just go and visit people, I think we can really sort of mould and build stuff again, not only for this season but the future, and for next season and the season after, which is really important.
We'll obviously have packages in place, so there's some structure, but we can always tweak things if there's aspects of them that don't work for a particular company. Social media might not appeal to some, so we can take that out and replace it with, say, the more standard form of advertising, the pitch side boards that we've got there, or the match programme, which is still a popular way of doing it. So yeah, we've obviously got the packages in place, but we can tweak them to suit, and we're very flexible in that respect. Yeah.
Excellent. So final question then to both of you then. Hopes for the coming season on and off the pitch. Have you got a wish list, a bucket list, a shopping list of things you'd like to achieve?
I'm delighted that Andy's coming to help me here, because at times it's been a bit of a one-man band for me, so it's great to have somebody on board and a fresh pair of eyes at things as well, along with Liam Dooley, our CEO, he's got a big commercial background as well, so it's been good to have assistance in that way. So off the field, I think it's about firstly looking after the current sponsors that we've got and giving them the looking after them as well as we can, but getting as many people, new businesses involved, and trying to move forward off the pitch. On the pitch, we can't dictate that, but I think there's always that optimism. We've had a lot of good signings through the door already. Paul and Chris obviously enjoyed a lot of success when they were last with us. and I'm sure they can, they can replicate that.
You still wish you could kick the ball for them.
Right, I think it comes to a point where I say we try and play a little bit. I mean, you still play. I mean, I just look at a football and get injured at the moment.
I'm still getting over 5-a-side from last Thursday, so but yeah, smaller pitch about suits me, and I feel quicker on a smaller pitch.
Well, at least I'd be able to get from one side to the other in a 5-a-side pitch. Great to catch up with you, gents. Hope we have a great season.
Thanks,
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Did you know entries are now open for the Shropshire, Telford and Wrekin Apprenticeship Awards, the very first one?
We've got categories for apprentices, we've got categories for employers, and most importantly of all, entry is free.
It's all on our website. Go there, find out the details and enter.
Closing date for entries is June the 28th. You've got to be in it to win it. Welcome back. Well, it's time now for our second visit to the Shropshire Chamber of Commerce General Election hustings, which was held at the ACO Theatre in Oswestry. Candidates from the 5 main parties that have got candidates in the election sat down to answer a series of business-related questions. And in this segment, they're talking specifically about connectivity and infrastructure. A couple of you have mentioned this already before, and that's the connectivity issue. I mean, I don't know about you, I sometimes find it impossible to make a mobile phone call when I'm driving from one side of Shropshire to the other without losing signal. Some parts of the county, we know very rural corners don't have access to high-speed broadband. So I want to just ask really the panellists, where you feel our infrastructure sits in terms of how easy it is to allow businesses to compete on an equal footing with some of the more urban parts of the UK. Ro, do you want to start us off with this?
I mean, we have tragically fallen behind our peers and competitors on many fronts. You look at connectivity, service sector on the economy, all sorts of things. Now, on connectivity especially, given where we are at the moment, I'm a bit of an IT geek. I know Daniel would say Rishi Sunak's an IT geek, but he can't even use a wireless payment card. But on the connectivity, now, I'm just going to give you an example. I was in Kabul, Afghanistan in April 2021. I went to the villages around the Afghan capital. You were meant to be having the worst mobile signals there. It was showing me 3G, but I could watch a YouTube video. You go around Shifnal, you go around Albrighton, around here, it shows 5G, but it's not loading a simplest video. Now, we're talking about connectivity. Businesses require fast broadband. It's not to be seen, not to be felt. We're talking about AI, the evolution of AI. We cannot harness any of those benefits that we're always talking about. Connectivity, future of, I mean, other countries are talking about 6G. We're not even getting 4G right or 5G right. So the fact that the Tories have not done it for 14 years, you'd need to be holding them accountable as to why. You've been having power, you've wasted our money, you've squandered 14 years of opportunities of this country. It's time to change that. And change is only possible when you have people in charge who are not busy fighting each other, stabbing each other in the back, day in, day out, but are governing for the interest of the party. Shropshire needs a Labour government. Shropshire needs a science and technology centre supporting its telecommunication services. We need our companies working together, businesses working together to find a solution that is viable, that is fit for the future and also fit for our children. You go around schools, they don't have access to proper ITs. You cannot talk about AI or any future IT projects without having proper connectivity.
Thank you. Alan, talk to me about connectivity. How do you see it?
I mean, obviously, it's very important. I mean, being from Telford, we don't really have that issue. Everything's sort of super fast. So I'll leave it to the other candidates to answer that question.
Absolutely. Okay. Julian, go on. Give us a Shrewsbury perspective then. We've got 2 Shrewsburys against 1 Telford here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I will try and address the whole question of Shropshire, though, because I think that this question gets to the heart of how do we overcome the difference in opportunity, unequal difference in opportunity between urban and rural areas. And I think that the broadband connectivity is one part of that. And I think the solution is simple. It requires, significant investment. A small charge on everybody's phone line across the country would allow that level of investment so that everybody can have the levels of broadband, which frankly, you can have in Estonia. I don't understand why we can't have it in the UK. So I think that investment is possible. It can be done. It's about raising the money and being brave enough to do that. But there are other ways that we can equalise the opportunities and the connectivity in rural areas. And I think that a key one is public transport. Interestingly, I'm sure at some stage Daniel is going to promote his disastrous North West Relief Road project. But interestingly, when we heard from people from the business chamber at one meeting recently, I'm a Shropshire councillor and I was in a meeting, and they were asked, how keen are you on the North West Road? Actually, do you know what they said? We need better bus services. We need young workers to be able to get to their jobs. That's the sort of connectivity that I really think we could be investing in. So that's part of the story as well. So I think all the way from broadband to a really good bus service in this county, which can allow people to travel in a sustainable way, to work, to get those opportunities, to training. Those are the things I think that we need to be investing in to overcome that gap, which is a real gap between the urban and the rural experience, especially for young people, but frankly, for all of us. I mean, one of the things that I think we sometimes forget is that even in rural areas, not everybody has a car. And in those households where there is a car, not everyone has access to the car keys. And we do have to overcome that. And the only way we can overcome that is with a much, much better public transport system, and then a bit of imaginative thinking about car clubs and shared vehicles and what's called total transport. In other words, the fact that we have vehicles running around the county, taking kids to school or delivering post, but then they're not available for people to travel in as well. Actually, there's solutions you can bring about with that. Some of that involves a little bit of clever tech, but actually those total transport solutions are being piloted in all sorts of places around the world, and we should be doing that in counties like Shropshire.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay, I'll give Daniel a chance to respond to some of those specific things in a minute. But just Helen, just give us your take first on the connectivity specifically, and obviously we'll broaden it out into more of the infrastructure debate, I think, as well.
So thank you. So digital connectivity is probably the top issue in Shropshire after health, I would say. Certainly on my travels around the county, talking to both people who have a problem from a domestic perspective and for people who run a business. There are two elements. Obviously, there's your broadband, your fixed line, and then there's your mobile connectivity, and they are different beasts. In North Shropshire, we're lucky enough to be benefiting from Project Gigabit, which should resolve a lot of the broadband issues. It hasn't been rolled out yet, but it is in train, and I hope that is a success, and I'm entirely supportive of it. The mobile signal problem is different, and it is supposed to be being resolved by something called the Shared Rural Network, which is a government project which encouraged required the 4 mobile network operators to put £500 million into solving the issue of partial not spots, so places where you can only get one signal from one provider, and where the government would put £500 million into total not spots, which are largely identified as being in Scotland and Wales, so possibly not of as much interest to us here in North Shropshire. There is a big problem with this project in that, firstly, the data for that project is based on Ofcom's coverage maps, and anybody who lives in a rural part of Shropshire will know that they do not reflect the lived reality of people on the ground. I live in Harmer Hill, which is supposed to have pretty good coverage, and I work in Wem, which is supposed to have pretty good coverage when I'm in my constituency office, and they're both awful. You can't make a phone call when you drive down the A5 from Oswald Street to Shrewsbury. The maps are not fit for purpose. But the problem is the contract has been drawn up based on those maps. And secondly, EE, which owns more of the infrastructure than any other business, didn't reach an agreement to share its infrastructure with the other mobile network operators. So there's a problem there as well. So I've run quite a long campaign on this. I've met with all of the mobile network operators. I've met with the local government authority who are trying to, association, who are trying to resolve this problem as well. And I've done a private members bill, which would require those operators to share their equipment more effectively between each other, but also if they won't agree or can't reach commercial terms on that, to allow rural roaming where your phone hooks up to the signal that is available to you. We need to resolve this problem because it isn't only important to run a decent business, and working flexibly and on the move in our businesses now. So it's mission critical for businesses, but it's also important for resilience in power cuts and storms, for example. Absolutely the most important part of digital connectivity that hasn't been addressed. And if I have the honour of being re-elected, I will continue to campaign for that as a top priority, not just for North Shropshire, but for the whole of rural Britain.
Daniel.
Well, this is when Owen Paterson was the MP for North Shropshire, and also Philip Dunn, the MP for Ludlow. I mean, one thing is absolutely clear: you can't resolve this by yourself as a member of Parliament. You've got to work with other Shropshire MPs collaboratively. One of the biggest problems that we have, I think, is that our county is not united. Our county has been artificially cut up, Shropshire and Telford. And one of the things that I would love to have is an amalgamation of both councils, and just to have one council for the whole of Shropshire. Because every time you are negotiating with a government department or with a national body, you've got Norfolk in front of you, you've got Somerset behind you, they go in collectively. And my experience of being the MP for Shrewsbury for the last 19 years is that is not the case in Shropshire. And every time we go in, this divide between Telford and the rest of Shropshire is very counterintuitive and very harmful for our county. All the other counties around the United Kingdom seem to be much more united and have a uniform voice when they are lobbying on behalf of our county. That is not the case here in Shropshire. But of course, when Owen Paterson was your MP and Philip Dunn was the MP for Ludlow, we had regular meetings with Shropshire Council every month where we discussed this problem with the leadership of the council, and we collectively wrote to the appropriate national companies to try to ensure that more investment came here to Shropshire. It's not the same problem for us in Shrewsbury and Telford as it is in North and South Shropshire. But I have taken individual companies to meet with operators in London and will continue to, from Shrewsbury, and will continue to do so. The North West Relief Road has been mentioned by my Green opponent, and one of the biggest dangers to our economy is now the complexity and the power that is draining away from government, draining away from those who are meant to be delivering these projects for you, like MPs, like myself, like technicians, like Shrewsbury Business Chamber. It was Shrewsbury Business Chamber, the late Graham Gullies, some of you will remember, came to see me 10 years ago in his office. He put a massive a map of Shrewsbury on his desk, and he said to me, I expect you, as the MP, to secure the funding for the North West Relief Road, to complete the ring road around Shrewsbury. It is critical for our community. And this is a medieval town which is seeing a huge influx of people coming into Shrewsbury from the Black Country, from Birmingham. We have a massive construction of homes, a huge work practices are changing, huge numbers of people coming to this small medieval town, and it's struggling to cope with the traffic. And yet what happens? We have the Greens and others with enormous amount of power. Each individual has enormous amount of power to try to thwart and prevent these projects from taking place. We had the Secretary of State for Transport at Shrewsbury yesterday, Mark Harper, and I have secured £170 million from the government to complete the North West Relief Road. A specific instruction. This is a Member of Parliament listening to the business community, listening to the Shrewsbury Business Chamber. It was an instruction given to me as the Member of Parliament. I secured the initial funding in February 2019. We are still not at construction, and costs have massively gone up as a result of the delays. The latest delay, of course, from our friends at the Environment Agency, is because a bridge is being built relatively close to the aquifer where drinking water is extracted to provide water for Shrewsbury residents. We're not building a nuclear power station. We're not building some sort of a chemical plant. And by the way, the Victorians managed to build bridges quite happily without the interference of the Environment Agency. We've got to the stage, and whether it's HS2, I supported HS2, critical infrastructure project, The Victorians understood that you build not just for yourself, but you build for future generations. You plant a row of trees, you may not enjoy the shade, but those who follow you will take advantage of it. We have now reached a point where critical infrastructure projects, whether it's HS2, whether it's the North West Relief Road, are either being destroyed or their costs are rising massively because of the conduct of people like the Green candidate who seek to obstruct and oppose all of these essential infrastructure projects because of their obsession with the environment, not taking into consideration jobs and prosperity.
I'm going to open this up to the floor in a minute, Daniel, but just before, if anybody's got any questions or comments they want to say on that, and then I'll give our Green colleague an opportunity. Question in the third row here. Let's just microphone on its way down to you. So here we go.
Thank you very much. I think businesses in Shrewsbury are interested in when the North West Relief Road will be built, and that any information on that will be helpful, but also on the town centre redevelopment, because that lots of planning applications, I believe, are being held up pending some visibility on when the redevelopment will take place. I don't know if the panel have any views on that.
I'll ask them in a minute. Just before you do, just a question just in front of you, if you can pass the microphone as well, and we'll...
Hi, Felicity Wingrove. I'm a small business owner, but I'm also here as one of the founding directors of Telford Business Board. So just picking up Daniel's point about the unification of the county. I believe we tried that with the LEP, which failed miserably, and the government pulled the entire proposition of LEPs and did what most business owners wanted them to do, which is ask business to provide a voice and instead put funding through local authorities. So it was leaner and much more targeted. We're doing quite well in Telford. We're quite happy to be ruling ourselves. So no, thank you.
Daniel, let me ask Julian to come in first before we do. Just
thank you very much. I welcome Daniel claiming that I have enormous power. I have to disagree. I'm a single member of the planning committee. As it happens, I am a member of the planning committee, and I did vote against the road. I was overruled. The Conservatives have a majority. They voted it through. We have three Conservative MPs in the county, as Daniel has said. We have a Conservative council. They haven't managed to get the road through. The reason they haven't managed to get the road through is because there are some absolutely legitimate concerns, which the Environment Agency is concerned about, Natural England is concerned about, and many other people are concerned about. Daniel seems to suggest that he should just be able to override that. That somehow power has seeped away from our MP towards these agencies who actually are looking after our environment for us. I think that would be extraordinarily dangerous if we were in a situation where MPs could override things in that way. Just the final point on this, Daniel is celebrating the fact that there's been 3 Tory MPs who've worked closely with Shropshire Council. Shropshire Council is now £62 million in debt this year, having already cut £50 million last year. So it's not a great track record of the 3 Tory MPs working with Shropshire Council.
Okay, thank you. And just very quickly.
I passionately disagree with the lady there who says, no, we're all right in Telford, thank you very much, we can do our own thing. One of the greatest things, there is nothing more important than the safety of patients at the hospital, and particularly the safety of patients in A&E. We have 2 hospitals, 13 miles, if you look at this auditorium here, that is Shropshire and Mid Wales. This whole building is Shropshire and Mid Wales. And these 2 little pinpricks next to each other, those are the 2 hospitals, just 13 miles apart. They cover the whole of Shropshire and Mid Wales. We secured £312 million 6.5 years ago for a modernisation of A&B services at our local hospital trust. And it wasn't me. It wasn't civil servants in London. It wasn't politicians. Due to the landscape reforms, the power for these changes has been moved towards people who are at the coalface of providing these services. The surgeons, doctors, and clinicians who work in the hospital trust. 300 local surgeons came to us and said, for patient safety, the most important thing that we can do is a reconfiguration of services with the main A&E at Shrewsbury and Women and Children's Services at Shrewsbury. That was 6.5 years ago. We secured £312 million, the biggest investment into the NHS in the history of Shropshire. 7 years on, we are only just now going to construction. And the tug of war that we have had with Telford, who refuse to understand the interdependence between both towns, is really, really damaging for the hospital trust and really damaging for our county.
Let me bring Row into this one then. Your response to that?
Talking of the NHS, I mean, we all owe it our lives to. And, you know, I was talking to an elderly lady in Albrighton yesterday, and she said, I broke my hip and I waited 12 hours for an ambulance to arrive. And it was the horror that she spoke about was just unimaginable. We are one of the richest countries in the world with a bankrupted, crippled health service, education service. Every bit of our public services have been crippled. Telford and the Wrekin are being left without an A&E. Now, my son's sitting there. He was hit by a car when he was a child. The nightmare of any parent, just imagine that happens to your own child. That was the worst moment of my life. Think about it. You're in Telford, you'd need to wait for an ambulance or the A&E to be in Shrewsbury. You don't have access to it. Anything happens to your loved one, you'd need to go all the way from Telford or any part of the Wrekin to Shrewsbury. Who's done that? Daniel has done that, and he's proud of it. My director... No, but I'm talking about... So what do you have to say to that lady who has to wait 12 hours for an ambulance, and when their ambulance arrives, he has to drive almost 20-25 miles to get her to an A&E? So it's everybody else's fault then. So it's somebody else's fault. So it is somebody else's fault. So you're forcing it through the people's throat. People are uniformly against it, but you're forcing the thing down their throat. No, my wife's a nurse. You know what you've done to the NHS? I know it doesn't bother you because you earn enough money from the Saudis, and your colleague in the Wrekins, and your colleagues, and your colleague earns enough from his other 4 jobs. But you know, real people in the streets, in Telford, anywhere in Shropshire, you go and ask them. They're suffering because of your actions.
Let me give everybody else an opportunity then to have a... We've obviously gone a little bit more into the hospital debate. Helen, what's your take? I mean, I guess one of the things the question that's sort of been skirted around here is one hospital enough? Where should it be? Should there be 2? You know, where are we at with all of this?
So I don't think I have any expertise in how to run a hospital or indeed how to build one. I'm a chartered accountant. And I have been given a briefing by clinical specialists at Shrewsbury and Telford Hospital Trust that given the budget that they have, the proposal that they have come up with is the best they can do. So is it the optimal solution that we could build with an endless budget? Probably not. Is it the best that some people who understand how to run a hospital can do? They think so, and therefore I'm inclined to support them. I don't always agree with Daniel, you won't be surprised to know, but he is right, those hospitals support not just the people of Shropshire, but the whole of the population of Mid Wales. It is a vast, vast area. And when we have challenged those clinical specialists on what if it takes me 20 minutes longer to get to A&E? What if I had a stroke and time is of the essence and it's going to take me 20 minutes longer to get to A&E? It's a really valid question, a really valid point. And of course, people are very, very worried about it. But their answer is, it is better to get the right treatment first time than to get the wrong treatment first time and then be transferred again to a different hospital. So I would like to have seen more money, a big new hospital. Of course I would, I'm a politician. I'd have liked to have seen a politician cut the ribbon on something shiny and new. That wasn't ever going to be the deal, and therefore I think we have to trust the people who are responsible for delivering the services to do what they can. And as I say, I don't often agree with Daniel, but turning the provision of health services in a finite budget with a finite period of time into a 7-year political football, I don't think has served anybody in this county very well.
Let me give Alan and Julian a chance to have a say yet, because they haven't had a say on this. Julian, just...
As somebody who's been active in the campaign to defend the two A&Es in Shropshire, I have to say, first of all, that the clinicians are not all united on this issue. And also, we do actually, I think, have to take stock and take account of the fact that the leadership of Shrewsbury and Telford hospitals has not got a very good track record. The maternity care in this county has been a scandal, it has been criminal, and it has hit national headlines time and time again. So I'm not confident that we can take our lead from those same managers. But I would also say this, that I think it's not just about the A&Es, it's about a general drive towards centralising all the services. So we've lost local maternity care, we've been losing community hospitals, we've been losing access to all sorts of services which traditionally were much closer to people's homes. And going back to the point about connectivity, actually that business of local services close to people's homes is more sustainable, it's better for outcomes, for health outcomes. That's where the investment needs to be. So we need to roll back from the centralisation of these services. And actually, just to pick up on Helen's point, Helen said, and she used the words, given the budget. Well, I'm not accepting that. I don't think we have to accept the budget. I think we have to be fighting for the sort of investment in health in this country, which means that we can have a proper accident and emergency service for a 70,000 person town of Shrewsbury and the hinterland and Wales, and also for Telford, which has its own growing and young population. There's no reason why we shouldn't have emergency services in both of those centres. And I do not accept that we have to cut our cloth according to a shrinking budget, which is destroying the NHS.
Alan, just finish us off on this hospital debate.
I've never done one of these events before, so I didn't realise you just made up questions in your head and answered those. That's quite interesting. Just to go back to what the point that Felicity was making, I think she was talking about manufacturing. We've got very different needs in Telford. We're not rural, we're very manufacturer-based, so that was the point. On the hospital, I mean, we're going to be the largest town in the UK without a fully operational A&E, which just seems really strange to everybody in Telford that we're sort of losing some of our services. And I've forgotten what the original question was now because it was so long ago.
Well, it's just very much, where do you stand on the hospital debate?
Oh yeah, I think that we should have maybe more money and keep the A&E fully operational in Telford as well as having one in Shrewsbury. I completely get that we're serving sort of a wider going into Wales with Shrewsbury, but we're quite a growing population in Telford, and we need a fully operational A&E.
I'm conscious we could probably talk about this one all night, and by keeping an eye on the time, there's loads of other things I want to get through. So if it's all right with you, I'll change the subject completely now, folks. Very briefly, Dan, just briefly.
I'm very grateful to the lady who's asked about the town centre, because of course Shrewsbury has more listed buildings than any other town in England. Tourism is our #1 income generator, and yet the whole of the centre of Shrewsbury, the Riverside Shopping Centre and all of that area, is obviously 1970s, falling apart, redundant, and completely dilapidated. I secured funding from the Levelling Up Fund, the only successful bid for Shropshire from the Levelling Up Fund, and Mark Barrow at Shropshire Council tells me that as they rescope, that funding, by the way, is going to be the seed funding, the catalyst for a whole redevelopment and reconstruction of Shrewsbury Town Centre. That's going to provide huge new opportunities for the construction of new services, new accommodation, office accommodation, hotel accommodation. It's going to become the biggest brownfield site development in Shropshire, and it's potentially going to attract hundreds of millions of pounds of private sector investment in Shrewsbury. So I'm very proud to have secured that funding from the Levelling Up Fund.
Okay, that's brief enough, I think so.
Shropshire Live. News and entertainment for Shropshire. Shropshire Live.
So there you go. Hope the election hustings debate has given you a bit of food for thought. Time now, though, to go back to Telford International Centre and the Shropshire Chamber Business Awards and meet some of the other big winners from the biggest night on the Shropshire business calendar.
The winner tonight is Maddie Hughes, Agritel Limited.
It's amazing, and I couldn't have done it without Agritel whatsoever. I mean, the support, the encouragement, kind of the expertise that they've all given me is just invaluable.
But there can only be one winner of this magnificent prize, and that is R1 Construction.
It's a massive achievement, to be fair. It's really thrilling to actually pick up something like this. We worked hard and dedicated a lot of time and effort and resource over the last 10 years to get to this, and without the support of our staff, all our clients and everything, and everybody that's behind this award, it just wouldn't be achievable, and we're massively grateful for it. Yeah, a huge amount, I think, is the answer.
And the winner is the Learning Community Trust.
It feels amazing. I mean, we're privileged to be here tonight to collect the award, but there are 1,400 people within our trust that just do amazing things every single day for our community, helping families, trying to educate children at the same time. But there are two very special people in our trust that really deserve this accolade. One of them is the gentleman next to me, Russell Garner, and the other one is the lady over there, Nikki Morrison, who just devote their lives to just helping people through our community, and we're incredibly proud of them all. So this is for them, so thank you very much.
The winner is Arrow County Supplies.
Absolutely fantastic. It's a strange mixed of feelings, really. Immense pride, absolutely, for what we've achieved, and a certain level of imposter syndrome creeps into these occasions. We have 10 people here today, but we have another 74 back at the office who really this award goes to. I've never worked for a company before that has such a group of people all aiming for what we're trying to do with our Eco Award here.
I'm pleased to announce that the winner of the Outstanding Customer Service Award is Salop Leisure Limited.
It's great achievement to win the award. It was a good process that we went through. I'm very proud of the company, of what we've achieved. You know, customer service is a big part of our business, so yeah, very, very happy to win this award.
Well, that leaves us with just one more award to present tonight, folks, the big one.
Company of the Year is our showpiece award for an all-round star performer, for a company flying the flag for Shropshire business excellence in every possible way.
We're delighted to confirm that the winner of this year's Company of the Year award is
Stallion AI Services Limited.
I think, and I just think, like Tom has said, that sacrifices that people make in order to be able to deliver for the business is, we've got such a dedicated team, and so to walk away with something like this, you really feel like, it's something we can share together and everyone's really proud of, so it's amazing.
Welcome back. Well, on last month's show, Chris Pritchard went out to Horton Wood with the team from Morris Property to find out about a huge new industrial development. And this time we've turned our attention to Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury Town Football Club's already been mentioned on the show, and their newest development, probably highest profile development in the town, is Stadium Point, right behind the football ground. I went along, put my hard hat on, met some of the Morris Property team to find out what it's all about. Well, last month we were in Horton Wood. This month we are in Shrewsbury with the team from Morris Property. I'm joined by Chris Morris and Liz Lowe here. Stadium Point, sell it to us, sir.
Well, we're very excited to see it coming out of the ground. It's been a long time coming, but it's great to see it now really rising up quickly. It's a £40 million development commissioned by our parent company, Morris & Company. And it's the single largest project that we've ever undertaken. So it's a big project for us. And it's over 28 acres, and it'll take us 3 years to build out in association with our funding partners, FDC. And it's all commercial space for job-creating businesses.
And I know the clue's in the title, Stadium Point. We are literally, for people that don't know, right behind the sort of half moon-shaped area behind the football ground.
Yeah, right. Hence the name of the site. It was too good not to call it Stadium Point. And there's a few correlations that even some of the cladding colours seem to somehow match the town colours.
How fortuitous! I bet they're really pleased about that.
Yes.
Does it help the fact that it is right by the football ground, that everybody, as soon as you mention this site, they know exactly where it is?
Yeah, it's a good anchor in terms of geography. Everybody knows where the club is. So. It's a good sell for us, that one.
Excellent. And listen, talk to me a little bit about some of the detail of this, because it's not all happening in one phase.
It's not, no. So we have planning consent for 33 units. That's over 360,000 square feet. And that is a mix of smaller warehousing from 5,000 to 175,000 square feet, should we want to go that big. That would be more end occupier led. But we also have 3 self-contained office buildings here, ranging from 5 to 8,000 square feet. And we have a single food outlet that will serve the local community for the business park.
Because infrastructure, when you're doing something of this size, is really important, isn't it?
We were very conscious in how we designed the estate, both from a operational point of view for the end occupiers, but also for the people that were coming to work here, so that we've incorporated a lot of breakout areas, landscaping areas. We have a stream that runs through the site with a footpath along it, a footpath that will circumnavigate the estate as well, so people can go walking. But we've also got connectivity through to Meal Brace retail park. There's Lidl, and there's also Aldi and the garden centre. So there's plenty for people to do during their lunch break here at Stadium Point.
It seems to have come up really quickly. It doesn't seem that long ago since you were having a briefing meeting with all the commercial agents and showing them the plans, and then I started to drive past. They seem to have been scratching.
Well, we don't hang about, Carl. and it has been that all of this is a speculative build for us. And
is that a brave thing to do?
It is a brave thing to do for anyone who builds speculatively, but it's been a long-awaited land release, and we've been keen to get cracking. And we think it's an important development for the town, because once completed and fully occupied, we think it'll be providing over 350 jobs, which is obviously good for the local people and the local economy. But yes, we've put our money where our mouth is, ahead of the market, and we are building and hoping that interest will be strong, which so far early signs are that
we're very happy.
When people can actually physically see things happening, does that do inquiries then suddenly start to
you see a peak? Yeah. So obviously there's the initial launch, and so it's about awareness, and you spend that time whilst you're coming out the ground, effectively, building that awareness of the development. But as soon as the roofs go on and the floors are laid, the number of visitors have increased threefold. So we're very, very happy with the level of interest that's being expressed in this scheme at the moment.
Excellent. Shall we go and have a look?
Great.
Let's go and have a look. So, Liz, as we said, work going on at a great pace. You've split this into sort of 3 different phased areas.
We have. The 28-acre site naturally splits into 3 zones. So we are currently in Zone 1, which we are undertaking in phases. It's 12 units in total, which is a mix of industrial and offices. And we are in Phase 1, which totals about 42,000 square feet in total over 3 buildings. And we're currently in Units A to D, which is the largest of the 3 units. It's 20,880 square feet, and the beauty of this particular building is it's capable of being subdivided into 4 units. So each unit is separately serviced. We're leaving it open at the moment because we have several occupiers that actually want it as a single unit, so we're maintaining maximum flexibility.
You can tell from the echo in here that it's quite a sizable unit, this, isn't it? What kind of business then is this going to suit?
It'll be storage and distribution on a smaller scale. In Zone 3, which we're hoping to bring forward next year, we'll have 40 to 45,000 square foot units coming forward and bigger. But again, a lot of investors are looking at this, whereby they're thinking they can occupy 2 out of the 4 units and then sublet the rest, so that they've got growth for the future for their business without relocating.
I imagine that's one of the things when you're building speculatively, you can't be too specific about what you put in here.
No, you try and have to guess the market. I mean, hopefully, you are building to where you think the pent-up demand is. But there is always someone that comes out of the woodwork that you didn't think about.
But being able now to bring people around the site and physically show them the setting and everything, that's got to help.
Absolutely. We had a launch event with the agents when we first started on site. We did have quite a delay in the planning process, but we used that time to design the buildings from a construction point of view. So that's why we were able, as soon as we got the planning consent, to literally be on site and put the steelwork up. So we were very lucky.
And you mentioned lots of different kinds of units within the 33. What would be the smallest and the largest?
Okay, so the smallest unit is our food retail unit, which is 1,850 square feet. We have multiple units at around 5,000 square feet. In Zone 1, we are also looking at a potential headquarters office building, which we're going out to the market to see if there's anyone that would like a 30,000 square foot office in this location with its own self-contained car parking, which is always a problem. We've looked very carefully at how we've designed this development to ensure that each building has its own car parking areas that are designated and a main estate road.
Well, and particularly, in our Shropshire market towns, you don't take parking for granted.
You don't, unfortunately, no.
Brilliant. Let's go and explore.
Okay.
So just stepping outside that unit that we're in here gives you an idea of just the different stages that we're at with all this, doesn't it, Chris? And to get the bearings, there's a train we've just seen going on there. We've got the bypass literally right behind us here, haven't we?
Yeah, so it's a great location here at Stadium Point. As you say, we're just off the main bypass, so access to the motorway network is fantastic. And as we can see behind us, there's various different stages of development in terms of some of the units that are nearing completion and others that you can just start to see the frame coming out of the ground.
And that is that phase 2,
So
start of phase 2 behind us?
Yeah, this is phase 2. This is a collection of 4 buildings, 2 industrial units, one of 15,000 square feet and one of about 10,000 square feet. And that's where the food and the first office building of 5,000 square feet will be built. We're looking to finish those at the end of the year. So the phase 1 that we're in at the moment will be finished at the end of July. And then, as I said, we'll be finishing that at the end of the year. And then in September, we're starting phase 3, which is 2 further office buildings of 8,000 square feet each, and then another industrial unit, which is already under offer of about 8,000 square feet.
I'm impressed by how quickly it's going up, and I'm also impressed by how you've got all these stats at your fingertips without a single piece of paper. Impressive stuff.
We're very proud of this development, and hopefully, it stands the test of time.
Fabulous. Let's go for a wander. So, Chris, this is a really good spot to be, isn't it? Because in front of us here, we've got the whole development, and behind us, it shows just how close you actually are to the football ground.
Yeah, it really shows the context, and obviously the name was too good not to call it. But we always like to invest in the areas where we're developing. So the opportunity to partner with the club and become one of the main sponsors was too good an opportunity to miss. So we're very proud to be seeing our Morris Property logo front and centre on the home shirts. And the club have been great to work with. So it's proving a very good partnership. And of course, we've just got everything crossed for a great season ahead.
You've got some good matches. Wrexham coming here.
Yeah, there's some big names, big names this year. So,
and am I right in saying actually your family has got a connection to the playing staff at Shrewsbury Town?
Yes, a long way back. So my grandfather, I think it was in the early 1920s, used to play for the Shrewsbury Amateurs, and he was called up once to play for the town. And he scored a goal in that one appearance that he made for the town.
Perfect record. That's what you want, isn't it?
Quite a nice link, yeah.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for hosting us today. We all look forward to seeing how Stadium Point develops over the next few months.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Carl. Thank you.
Well, that's just about it for another edition of Shropshire Business Live TV. Thank you so much for joining us. From one awards event, we start looking ahead to another, the Shropshire, Telford and Wrekin Apprenticeship Awards. And I caught up with one of the sponsors, Gareth Jones from Incom Training, to talk about why the event is going to be so important. Date for your diary for it, 3rd of October. That's when it's all going to happen. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next month. Well, Gareth, great to see you. And what a backdrop we've got here. Just tell us a bit about where we are and what we can see behind us.
Hi, Carl. So we're at the Incom Training Academy, Telford. We moved here from Bridge North. We formally opened in January 2023. And behind you can see a raft of advanced engineering technology equipment, which ranges from manual machining through to CNC, robotics, automation, metrology, CAD, etc.
All training apprentices or lots of other different things as well?
No, we offer a range of different elements. Majority is apprenticeships in engineering, manufacturing. We cover leadership and management, health and safety, quality, continuous improvement. But we also do a lot of upskilling courses as well for the local industry.
And of course, you said you've been in Telford now for about 12 months. I mean, you've got other bases around the region as well, haven't you?
Yeah, our homeland originally was in Aldridge, which is part of the Black Country in Warsaw. But we wanted to move over here some years ago. to join forces with the rest of the educational establishments here to service the local industrial need. We call it the North Marches Industrial Epicentre.
Excellent. There's definitely an epicentre here. There's so much more. First time I've driven down this road actually for a couple of years, and there's so many more companies. You were all on your own when you first came here, weren't you? You've got a lot of neighbours now.
And there's a lot of companies growing on the T54 here. You've got Magna, Filtermis, Taurus. There's a new premises being built next door. So yeah, this industrial park is growing and attracting some great organisations to the region.
So it's great to have you on board with the Shropshire Telford and Wrekin Apprenticeship Awards, sponsoring our engineering category. Why was it important for you to get on board with this then?
As soon as you asked Carl, it was a no-brainer. We were yes from the get-go, really. It's servicing a gap within this region that's unique, independent, to be able to celebrate the sector. I mean, apprenticeships are so important. I think we've seen over the last 10, 15 years that industry's really engaged in apprenticeships. There's been a big focus with the apprenticeship reforms, and it adds real value to the learner and the companies to create true competence in individuals, which is knowledge and experience, employing what you're learning, earning from day one, and really getting stuck into the industry that you've chosen to have a career in. And engineering manufacturing is a fantastic career, and obviously celebrating that in the region, there's no better place to be.
There's so many different ways to get into the sector now, though, isn't there? I mean, back when I was at school, you had a couple of routes, but now you can come at this from all sorts of different ways, can't you?
Yeah, and all different levels. We look at A-levels, GCSEs, swaps, boot camps, apprenticeships, BTECs, degrees, universities. There's that many different ranges of opportunity to access this fantastic sector now. It's untrue. There is a slight disparity between national strategy and regional strategy, especially through devolution with organisations such as what was the LEPS, now the West Mids Combined Authority, and so on. But devolution is a good thing because it's be able to be reactive to local needs and in local ways. So there is lots of opportunity out there for people to get involved in this great sector.
And you've got to sell what you do then, I guess, to two different markets. There's the potential apprentices themselves, and then there's employers that you need to explain to them the benefits of using apprenticeships.
We work with organisations, we build relationships, we meet them on a regular basis to discuss their sustainability and growth strategies. So it's all about today's sustainability and tomorrow's growth. Obviously in recent years as well, it was about survival. From the arsenal of products and services that we offer, we work with organisations and tailor their offering to their needs. But we've got a STEM engagement activity group now going that's sponsored by employers as well. And we're working with youngsters as young as 5 or 6. And we also, everything up through to primary school, through into secondary school, but we also educate teachers and parents. So we hold courses and awareness sessions, taster sessions for those as well, because they're influencers. And we want to ensure not only, obviously not everybody's going to want to come into this sector, but we want to ensure everybody's educated enough to make the best guesstimate of their career choice that they want to go into.
What sort of skills then make a perfect apprentice? Is that possible? Is it possible to say?
That's a big question. If we strip that back down, I'm going to say behaviours and attitudes. Behaviours, attitudes, and love for your chosen career pathway. And I think if you've got those three things, the rest will fall out naturally because they'll be engaged.
I mean, that goes for any career, whether it's apprenticeship or not, doesn't it? If you love what you do it better and you're more committed, aren't
you?
So.
Yeah.
Now, for the last few years, you've been carrying out this survey, haven't you? Your barometer, which sort of looks at trends and feelings and concerns and opportunities in the market. And the latest one's just come out, isn't it? What came out of that one? Anything particularly interesting or surprising for you?
Yeah, we had some interesting pieces this time. We do it annually. We surveyed 120 companies, anything from OEM to micro businesses. So some outstanding facts this were that 73% of companies said that their training budgets weren't affected by inflation. So the pressures that we're feeling financially, they still had to wanted to conduct their training activities. That said, aligned to apprenticeships, organisations that responded to take on apprenticeships this year has actually fallen, which is quite a worrying scenario. But when you look at that in terms of what we're doing now and in celebrating apprenticeships, awareness is even more better. But it is a reflection, I think, of where the market's at currently, on especially taking on new people. And the other one was the focus around 40% of organisations didn't think there was enough government support to fund modularised training. and modularised training is needed at the moment because of how tight workforces are and capacity. They need that education in bite-sized chunks.
So they want shorter courses, boot camps, short, sharp things they can dip in and out of, really, then?
Exactly that, and higher technical qualifications, the new level 4 that's replacing the HNC, which we start delivering in September. You can unitise that now, so we've actually got funding to be able to, if you wanted to do a level 4 piece on CAD-CAM, you could come and specifically do that. And it doesn't mean then you can go on and not gain the whole qualification. You can actually pick up credits along that way. So yeah, the other thing around the barometer this time as well was the artificial intelligence and Industry 4.0. So Industry 4.0 engagement is ramping up every year. Digitisation, data is the new gold, as it were, and AI is still very much on an early adopter level, very much for administrative or back office software points of view.
For the time being,
at least. For the time being, it's definitely going to come. We know it's going to come, but what level of impact that will have on the engineering manufacturing sector is still yet to be known, because can you talk to a piece of software and say design X, Y or Z, and then all of a sudden you've got the design there? Well,
in a couple of years' time, Gareth, we might be able to do this interview without even being here.
Yeah.
What's the general feeling in this sector about AI? Are people nervous about it? Are they excited? Do they want to embrace it, do you think?
I've sat on a couple of round tables of late, the latest one at Warwick Manufacturing Group and partnership with Crowe Clark, and everybody's aware of it, but nobody's really aware to the extent that it's going to add value to either the design processes or the manufacturing processes. So Industry 4.0 is very much around getting the data and analysing data, as where AI is around making artificial decisions. So you've also, now that we've generated the data, is how we can sort of use AI to make those decisions more effectively.
Yeah, it's overlapping it all, isn't it, really? Where it doesn't run you, but you run it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
You mentioned politics a little bit, the government earlier. Of course, as we sit here at the moment, the election campaign is underway. Do you have to be aware of what might be coming around the corner with a new government, a change of government, different policies? Or
we do. Anybody that's in the educational world will know that we have many stakeholders, DFE, Ofsted, the ESFA, and we have to adhere to many rules and regulations, and a new government will bring a new line of strategy. I mean, we've already heard the Conservatives coming out yesterday. Labour's already come out as well and said how they want to fund additional 100,000 apprenticeships. But we're just like any other engineer manufacturing company in the region. Turbulence isn't new, especially over the last 4 or 5 years. We get our heads down, do what's needed to be done and continue driving forward. So turbulence isn't new, it's the new norm. So yeah, it's coming, but we'll take it on the chin and keep moving forward.
Get on with it, you got used to it, as you say. Listen, thank you so much for being part of the Shropshire Telford and Wrekin Apprenticeship Awards. Looking forward to seeing what kind of entries we get for the category, and then having a big celebration in Telford in October.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. We hope it gets great engagement. We're really encouraging our learners and employers to get involved, and let's celebrate everything that's out there. And it's not just the winners, it's celebrating everybody that puts themselves forward to get nominated. And yeah, looking forward to waving the flag for apprenticeships in the region.
And the apprentice employers as well, let's not forget them.
True, so.
Good to see you. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, Carl.